zooming out of the megacity of Dhaka, Bangladesh, and zooming in to the wonderful, and so I see, snow-laden, beautiful city of Kristiansand, Norway. Torbjørn, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Daniel. I hope that you can hear me, and maybe you can also hear a little bit of music in the background, because I decided to meet you since you all have to stay home or close to home. So I decided to meet you here on the Kristiansand town square, because I'm going to share with you the story of a burning of the Quran, smart police work, and local efforts to create a city for all. And we are here in Kristiansand now. It's 5 degrees minus and some snow, but luckily for us, it's not like this all the time. We're the fifth city in Norway, the last one that can call itself a city. We're only 112,000 inhabitants, so very different from Dhaka. But we're also the place that people want to visit, especially during summer. We see that groups are coming here to meet up. And that also includes sometimes groups of neo-Nazis and also radicalists that sometimes come here to meet in Kristiansand, and that is what we have experienced. So even though our problems and our radicalization is much smaller than what we see in Dhaka, we are facing it here in this small city of Kristiansand. And November 2019, we had this group called Stop Islamification of Norway, SIAN. They decided to come to Kristiansand. They are meeting up in different Norwegian towns and cities to get attention. It's a small group, but they are trying to get some attention, and they are getting more and more radical. Maybe not in numbers or growing in numbers, but in trying to get attention. And their task is to save Norway from radical Islamists. And they believe that every Muslim is an Islamist that want to be a terrorist in their heart, if possible. The problem is that even though we have 17% immigrants in Kristiansand and we have a growing Muslim society, we don't have radical Islamists in Kristiansand. So if you don't find one, you have to create one. And that was the target of SIAN. So they wanted to provoke, and they said that we are going to Kristiansand and we are going to burn the Quran. And they gathered up here, right behind us, where you now see people are ice skating. There were just a handful of SIAN protesters, and of course, lots of people that are anti-SIAN protesters, many young immigrant people, and also people from the left, and people that were provoked about what was going to happen. And then lots of police. And me as a civil servant was standing up in the town hall there, looking down with my glasses of liberal democracy, where we're trying to protect the freedom of speech for the group, and at the same time keep the situation under control. And it got a little bit out of control in the minute where this group actually managed to, I wouldn't say burn the Quran, but they lit the Quran. And we saw a little bit of flames. The police had tried to prevent it, but immediately it was stopped. But harm was done, and people were telling the story that the Quran had been burned in Kristiansand. We are still claiming it was lit and not burned, but that is also maybe a discussion for the liberal Democrats. The situation came into control here in Kristiansand. But what happened afterwards was you saw a Norwegian church was burnt down because of this. A person saying that because the governments allowed the Quran to be burnt, I burned down this church. We saw lots of demonstrations around the world with the Norwegian flags burning, and also people dying during protests where this issue was brought up. And it is putting our view of the liberal democracy into a new perspective. How are we going to do this? I think that it is very important to work with together with the police and the Muslim society to And we've seen a long-lasting work from the police, learning people from different groups that we have to get used to be offended. In this global society, you are gonna be offended. And we should all get used to that. And we have no blasphemy legislation in Norway. We have also seen that the police have taken the different groups of population seriously and have built trust throughout many years. And I think that we'll still see after this discussion that there will be a fight between Muslim leaders and others whether we should re-implement blasphemy legislation in the Norwegian constitution, not in the constitution, but in the legislation. And that is a fair political fight. I don't think it's gonna win. We see the discussions on how we are going to be able to protect freedom of speech and at the same time protect people from being too offended. So that is what we're trying to work with. We see many people say that Norway is built on oil. I say that we are built on trust. We are built on trust and participation. What we are trying to do locally is build more trust. So therefore, we are making local documents in the town council, how to create more diverse society. What is going to happen the next week is that we're going to start the town council debate around our new chapter 8 chapter of our anti-criminalization strategy. And it's to fight hate crime and hate speech. And it's developed by Nena Benitez Nilsen, that many of you know, that is the advisor in my staff. And it will be adopted by town council within a month, starting next week, where we are celebrating Kristiansand, a city for all, which is a week where we are building out as many anti-discrimination activities as possible in the town. And this is how we are more strategically and systematically working to make a larger participation room to create safer city in Kristiansand. And I can elaborate on that, but I think my time now is gone.
Turn to Torbjørn, for example, who's just been talking about trust building in the Kristiansand context. And just, Torbjørn, can you finally, just to wrap us up here, just give us, I think, some concrete steps that you've been taking in Kristiansand that help us build trust building?
I think that the most important trust building work that has been done has been between the police and people that need the police's protection. And that has been, of course, in pretty much to the religious minorities, the Muslim society. But it also has been trying to get some trust into the more radicalized right-wing groups that are here, and making them understand where the limits goes and not, and how they will be protected, and where they will be stopped when it seems like it's only a provocation for the provocation itself. But then that is maybe a work in trust when it comes to the polarized society. But you also see in general that trust is being built down, even in the traditional social democratic trustful society of Norway. And you see that we see that lack of trust is also a challenge in our local town council and the debates around what is going to happen and the just civilized political discussions. And the only way we can stop the decrease of trust is by being open, is by meeting people, do whatever we can to include people, and therefore, under the umbrella of a city for all, I think maybe it's naive, but I think it's the only solution for us to be able to actually build and keep the trust that we need to be able to continue building this society.